It's time for Talkin Tauntauns, your Star Wars source at AIPTcomics.com.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Talkin Tauntauns. I am Jim Lahane, and with me as always is Nicole Herview.
Hello there.
Hello, how are you doing, Nicole?
I am so tired, Jim. Yeah, I'm good though, man. How are you?
I'm doing all right. I'm setting up a chopping station to split logs. And so that was part of my job today, was setting things up and actually splitting logs. And you know, like all the visuals of lumberjacks are always these big beefy
sure.
guys. Yeah, there's a reason. Like my shoulders are sore. And you know, there's some sort of, not hubris, the humbling factor when I take an axe and I hit a log and nothing happens.
Yeah, that'll do it.
Yeah.
Indeed.
So we got a couple of business topics to bring up at the top of the show. You'll notice that it's been a few weeks since we've had an episode. And
it's been a few weeks since you heard from me. Does it work? I can't do it. If it's not 1 week, I can't make the reference.
No.
Go on, Jim. Sorry.
That was a failure. Yeah, it's been a few weeks since we've had an episode released, and there's a reason for that. We actually did record an episode a couple of weeks ago. Mm-hmm. But then things happened.
Then I yelled, Jim, pull the plug. Jim, pull the plug. Holy crap, Jim. Pull the plug.
So I'll let Nicole explain.
Hi.
What our combined stance on this is.
Yeah. So obviously I will speak for us for a minute and then myself. Because, I don't want to put words in your mouth, Jim. But we did speak at length in the episode that we recorded, but you won't ever hear that because if we do ever post it, the beginning we'll be cutting that out. But we had started recording an episode probably 24 to 48 hours after SAG-AFTRA announced they were striking. And they were joining the WGA because, oh my God, by now you know the story. There is so much going on in the studios right now. Yeah. And the writers, the actors, they are currently striking. And the conversation should have been about that. The conversation should have been about them. But for some reason, something happened, which I won't get into. And the conversation shifted to, how do content creators respond to this? What's okay for us to do, and what's not okay for us to do. And what's weird is we are in that category. Jim, that's us.
I create content.
We create content.
And do you know how much we get paid for this?
Nothing.
We don't.
We don't. And here we are.
Yet we're in solidarity.
Yes. So SAG-AFTRA asked that content creators... There's a weird line, but basically they have asked us to refrain from promoting, paid or not, any media that is struck or would be struck if it came out today.
So in kind of clarifying,
everything.
That would be like basically any TV, anything
that's come out from a major studio, yeah, is a no-go. Now, then what is promotion? Talking about it at all is technically promotion. So if you know anything about me, and one day we'll talk about it, there are 2 movies that came out in the last, week and a half that are very important to me emotionally, and I can't even, write about it. I can't talk about it. And that's a small sacrifice to make when so much is on the line. But in solidarity with the writers, with the actors, with all the people in Hollywood who are striking right now, we will be refraining from speaking about that work. that is being struck, and past stuff that would be struck if it came out today. Considering we are a Star Wars podcast, that's a wide net that we're not to speak about. So, you know, there's news that's been coming out that we're not going to speak about because that could be construed as promotion for these projects. There is a major show coming out that we've talked about many times. That if you know anything about me, you know how excited I am, and I believe, Jib, you are as well for it. We likely will not be talking about it, at least as it comes out, until the strike is resolved. Because obviously, I'll speak for myself now, I stand in complete solidarity with the actors, with the writers, all of the people in Hollywood right now not working. Famous and not famous, especially not famous, especially the ones who, you know, don't make enough money to get SAG's health benefits, which you have to, I believe it's $20,000. Don't quote me on that. I believe you have to make $20,000 to qualify for health care through SAG. And it's a stupid amount of people who do not. Like, it's the majority of actors. I'm getting the stats wrong. I apologize. But these are easily findable.
$26,470.
There it is. And the percentage of actors who do not make that, it's high. It's the majority of them. So if you think this is about rich people, you're wrong. Like, is what I'm saying. This is not about the Ben Afflecks of the world or what have you. This is not about Margot Robbie. You know, this is about, you know, all the background actors. And basically, one of the biggest linchpins, examples that they were putting out is they were trying to put into contracts that they could scan a background actor, pay them for 1 day of work, and then use their image in perpetuity forever, and only pay them for 1 day of work.
Which, from what I've heard, is like $200.
It's disgusting. It's absolutely repulsive. As a creative, obviously I have bigger stakes in this. But it is absolutely disgusting behavior. And I don't remember if we published an episode where I was excited about a certain CEO being reinstated, and then like 2 days later he said some really stupid stuff. Yeah, not thrilled with him right now. But anyway, I won't. Anyway, the point is,
it's been a minute since he was reinstated to the time when he was spouting off
being stupid,
dumb.
No,
things.
I mean he signed for another couple year. I don't know. It doesn't matter. They extended his contract yet. Anyway, the point is, we will now be talking about books, comics, and games, and stuff adjacent to Star Wars. Maybe the parks.
I think the parks.
Maybe. I don't know. I think that's fine. So if it's weird for a minute, guys, stick with us. It might just mean we post less. Who knows? But just stick with us. We're going to ride this out while staying as cohesive with the strikes and the rules that those mean. Hello? Words? The rules that instates, the rules associated with the strike. We're trying to remain compliant here. so bear with us. Because obviously we're on their side. Jim, yes, no, maybe. I don't want to speak for you, but I'm definitely on their side. I'm sure we are both on their side. So we're going to be navigating that in real time. How's that? Was that coherent? Because I'm exhausted.
Very coherent. Yes, I was looking up the percentage, and the problem is I was finding the inverse of the percentage. It was saying of the number of people who qualify, and I'm like that. And I wasn't actually reading the content. I was just looking for numbers. And so that's why it didn't pop up. It's only 12.7% of members qualify for the healthcare plan.
I was going to say, I think it's 80-something% don't.
So it'd be 87.3% don't.
So 87.3% of the people in SAG-AFTRA do not make $26,000 a year. So that's what we're talking about here.
And if you think about that, the average earnings in this country, I believe, are $56,000 a year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, we assume, I mean, in order to live in this country, they probably have multiple, jobs. But these are not millionaires, is the point, Anyway, yeah. That's a heck of a statistic.
So, yes, like I said, we recorded an episode a couple of weeks ago. Obviously, the news would no longer be relevant. So, yeah, we're probably going to get rid of that once the strike is resolved. You will hear the other half because
Eventually.
I think it was really good. We did a good job. And
we did great.
You can be excited for content that'll eventually come down the road.
Yeah.
We do have a few things planned that we will be able to do. We got 3 episodes planned in August of stuff that we will be able to talk about that, So it's, I don't want to state what they are because plans change. And anytime I actually mention what's going on, it will not happen.
Yeah. So. Yeah. But I will say, live, I am very close to beating Fallen Order. So maybe we talk about that.
You're going to make me actually hook up my Xbox, aren't you?
It's a great game. That is a great game. So maybe that's something to chat about.
Well, the wife and child are going on a trip for a week, leaving me home alone for at least part of that week. So I'll have to hook that up.
There we go.
Yeah. I've been going back through all our old episodes trying to quantify a lot of information, and I realized something while I was going back through those.
What's that?
And it's part of the reason why, you get busy, I get busy. I will not do an episode by myself. I just won't. Sure. I know people do podcasts where they are just talking heads, and I've listened to them. I think they're fine. I will not do it. And part of the reason is I like the discussion aspect of any of this. I like other point of view. This is why I also love bringing on people that I know from across any racial, political, walks of life, because they have different points of view. And I love talking about this stuff with them because you get a different point of view from what you're seeing. And this kind of goes where when I was setting up the podcast originally with JJ and Connor, I had set it up as not actually we weren't Talking Tauntauns, but I set it up as when I did Talking Tauntauns, I said not a Star Wars podcast, I put a Star Wars discussion because I didn't want it to be just a podcast. I wanted it to be discussions. And so that's why I like our chats, and so that's why I like.
I do like the chats.
I won't do it. So if there's a week where we can't get together for some reason, like last week, our schedules were literally direct opposites. Any days I could, you couldn't. Any days you could, I couldn't. And
that's life.
And it was one of those. I'm like, it's just not going to happen. And so that was on top of the week where previously we did the podcast and it didn't come out. And so it was one of those, I'm like, we're going a long time, but it's extenuating circumstances at the time.
Correct. But we are here. We're going to do what we can. And bear with us.
All right. And with that, we do have some news that we can actually talk about.
Yeah, we do.
Your tauntaun will freeze before you reach the first marker. Then I'll see you in hell.
Hello, what have we here?
So, as some people may know, San Diego Comic-Con was this past weekend, I believe.
Before, maybe? What's time?
I don't know. Let's see.
It might have been this past week. I think it was last weekend. Am I losing my mind?
I don't know.
It's possible.
Yes, it was. No, it was this. Wait, it's already July 31st. I missed a whole week. It was the previous weekend.
That's what I thought. Okay. Time is somewhat real still.
Somewhat. So, yes, it was July 20th to July 23rd. A lot of the major studios were not at Comic-Con.
Yep.
The actors were not at Comic-Con. And so the reveals we have are mostly in the publishing realm. And even then,
Not a ton.
it's slim pickings. We know a lot from the reveals, but also kind of general news that the High Republic Phase 2 is now finished. I believe there may be one more book. I still have one more book to read. I don't know if it came out yet or not. But they're gearing up for Phase 3, which will start later this year. If I'm right, it's either in late October, early November, I believe, is when Phase 3 is hitting.
So in a couple months?
Yeah, in a couple months from now. Because we're right now, if that last High Republic book, I'll probably have to double check that, hasn't come out yet. It should be real soon.
Right.
And yeah, so most of the San Diego Comic-Con reveals, they have a list of 10 reveals from the Lucasfilm Publishing panel. 6 of them are the High Republic.
Yep.
Of those 6, 1, 2, 3 are comics, and then a couple books, and then one is a character, character encyclopedia. And so you kind of get a look at mostly of where they're going. I believe I read that it takes place about a year after the fall of Starlight Beacon, which was the last book of Phase 1.
Phase 1.
I get phase waves. I get confused on what they're doing when they're doing it.
Think the moon. Phases of the moon.
As opposed to waves of the moon?
There aren't waves of the moon. The moon creates waves.
No, winds create waves. The moon creates tides.
That's what I mean. And the tides create the... Right?
So, yes, in the third...
I'm not a scientist.
In the third tide... In the third tides of... I didn't forget any words. Words are just gone now.
Good.
All right. So the third phase of the High Republic begins with Charles Soule's Shadows of Starlight, which will examine the first year after the fall of Starlight Beacon. And so I feel like that is going to be kind of our filler. Like this is because everything I saw was 1 year after. And so it makes it seem like this is kind of in that filling year. And for anybody who hasn't read Phase 2 but read Phase 1, I think you're going to be okay. If you just
That'd be me.
Yeah, if you just skip Phase 2, because like overall I've enjoyed Phase 2. It has its highs and its lows, kind of like Phase 1, but I don't see how any of the storylines are going to directly impact Phase 3, especially since Phase 3 obviously follows Phase 1 with the Nihil and the fall of Starlight Beacon, whereas Phase 2, there's no Nihil. You kind of had some of the ancestors of the Roe family and the Santecas and all that. And you probably got like the beginnings of where the Nihil come from, but I don't see how this is going to impact 3 majorly. Obviously, it's going to have some variety of impact. So, besides the High Republic, we got looks at 2 other comic series, Dark Droids and Dark Droids D-Squad, both comics that I'm sure are very high on Nicole's list of...
Well, I'll tell you what. That second one is R2, Chopper, and a pit droid. That's like the team. I might read that.
Oh,
I might
okay.
read that. Because... Are you kidding me?
That's the D-Squad one. That's the Dark Droids D-Squad.
You know what? They might have me there. They might have put together a little group that I can tolerate. Because none of them can talk. And there's probably not going to be any dialogue at all. And I'm like, I don't have to hear exposition bot. Or, like, you know what I mean? Like, you don't need, like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I feel like all of those episodes, they're just like, here's a random character that can talk, and they're going to talk for everybody.
I feel like...
I don't know. I feel like reading it's different.
They had a Chewbacca comic where they didn't translate Chewbacca. And it was rough.
Yeah, I mean, the holiday special, that'll show you how rough that is. You know?
Woof.
That's a rough time. That is rough stuff.
So then, yeah, like there's one more comic that they had highlighted, Tales from the Death Star, which is another Kevin Scott Halloween-related series.
Yay, Kevin.
Continuations of he does one of these yearly, these horror-related comics. And then Dawn of Rebellion visual guide.
Yay.
And that's it.
That'd be it.
So I don't know if they are just slim pickings or what's going on.
Yeah.
But trying to see when that last High Republic Phase 2 comes out. Unfortunately, Audible, unless you filter it, gives you podcasts in the book lists. Which
That's
you know
so
what
stupid.
I don't want in my book lists?
Podcasts.
Podcasts.
Yeah, I want podcasts in the podcast bit.
Yes, Path of Vengeance was the last one. And apparently I completely missed it because it came out beginning of June.
Oops.
So, yes. Rise of the Red Blade was the one that came out recently.
Yeah.
Within the last week or so. And so, hopefully, we'll at least talk about that one because that's...
Yeah. I have a list of books that we can talk about.
Here. You may discuss these.
Yeah. I mean, listen. Definitely that one. And then there's other books that I've wanted to read for a while, and this is a great excuse to do that.
Well, if there's an audiobook version of it, that gives me... I can power through an audiobook in a couple days, depending on what I'm doing.
Yeah. I'm specifically talking about the Padme trilogy. I really want to read the Padme trilogy. So, anyway.
Yes, and I talked to the author of the Padme trilogy, and she would love to come on to the podcast as well.
Get the hell out of here! Okay, cue us up.
But I was waiting till you read them before I invited her on.
Definitely, yes, absolutely. Yes, but what are we talking about today, Jim? This is very important.
All right, but today's topic, like I said, I was going through old of our episodes, and we were trying out different segments, and I feel like our topic fixed one of the segments I came up with a long time ago, and we only did once.
Oh, stop.
It was Palpy's Picks.
Excellent. Everything is going as planned.
Get the...
So we're going to do some Palpy's Picks.
We're going to do something like that.
No, are you thumbs downing my
Like Palpatine?
Yeah.
Palpatine's picks.
Palpy's Picks.
If he picks a story, it's, the tale of Darth Plagueis the Wise. We're going to talk about our, have you ever heard of the tale of...
Our picks.
Those are my three.
Yes. We're
real quick.
So we obviously limited on what we can talk about, decided that we were going to discuss some of our recommendations on what to read. Especially summer reading time. It's a good time to pick up a good book. And I didn't know what you picked, but having read all of the Star Wars books, I can give you a list of at least 10 off the top of my head that I think I think would be fun, depending on what mood you're in.
Great.
So you go first.
I'm going to go first. I picked 3 to talk about in depth. But, maybe we talk about 3 and then list some more afterwards. But I'm going to start with one that you might pick. So I'm just going to get it off the board. And I have them all with me. So the first one is Master and Apprentice by Claudia Gray. Because of course it is. Like, this is just for me to hold a book. I'm showing Jim the book. He knows what the book looks like. I'm holding it because I like a prop, okay? No one else can see it. It doesn't matter. This book is my favorite Star Wars book. This book, there's a meme of Markiplier going like, this is my favorite thing. I sit and I think about this all day long. Like, sometimes I stay awake at night and I think about this. That is this book. I love Master and Apprentice by Claudia Gray. It follows Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon in the years before episode 1. And
I literally just saw the blue screen of death in Nicole's eyes.
Everything stopped. I was like, how do I do this? Anyway, before we see them on screen ever, there's this book, and it perfectly encapsulates the relationship. It gives so much context, and it makes the original source material better. And I adore Claudia Gray. We have had the honor of having her on. If you have not listened to that episode, what are you doing? Pause
it's not that old.
Go listen to it. Come back. Like, what are you doing?
It's only a couple of months ago that we had her on.
And I still sit sometimes, and it hits me that we did that, and I go, wow, I talked to Claudia Gray. And there's evidence. Yeah, so this is my favorite Star Wars book. It is excellent. I could not recommend it more if you've never read a Star Wars book for some reason. This is a great one to get into, because it is so easy. It is a pretty quick read as well.
So there's a lot of Star Wars books out there which you cannot jump into. They're part of a series, and you need to read the whole series in order to get to them. Master and Apprentice is not one of those books. Correct. It is easy to pick it up. I do enjoy it. It would not, if I had to pick one Claudia Gray Star Wars book, it would not be Master and Apprentice.
Ooh, do you have one on your list, or which?
It's not, well, the problem is I keep recommending it, so I'm just trying to pick other books, but Lost Stars.
I haven't read it yet, but yes, it's supposed to be like the best thing in the world. It
is literally her first Star Wars book. It is fantastic. The manga adaptation is fantastic. Everything is great about those books.
That's a good one too. We might have to do that. We might have to do an episode on Lost Stars.
Oh, we've never done one. Even before you came on, we never did one. I would love to dive back into Lost Stars. Yeah.
I'm gonna make a list real quick. Hang on.
But yeah, I fully support your Master and Apprentice pick. I think that book was great. It was kind of eye-opening because you could see, like, it made sense where she put Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan in their relationship with each other based on the Phantom Menace, but it's not something that I personally would have placed them there. It's like one of those, like, oh, this makes a lot of sense, but I would never have thought of it like that. And this is why I do not write Star Wars. I mean,
it takes a phenomenal writer to write Star Wars well. Like, that is just, that's the dream. I'm not gonna lie. I'm just gonna keep saying that so I manifest it one day. I want to very badly. That is what I strive to be. So, and if I ever write anything half as good as this book, I'll be very pleased.
All right. So, off the top of my head, I'm actually going to pick a comic series.
Oh, nice.
So I'm going to be a little different. Okay. And it's actually a Legends comic series because of all of the canon comics, nothing stands out in my mind off the top of my head. Because we've had an overabundance of comics. Like, some of them are really good, like Dr. Aphra and the Darth Vader series are generally really good. But I
loved the Maul miniseries. The Darth Maul miniseries was so good.
But Marvel has been putting out too much.
Oh, sure.
And it's been not the caliber that I would hope for.
Right.
But the comic series I'm going to recommend is Tales of the Jedi.
Nice.
Tales of the Jedi, for anybody who doesn't know, is one of the first comic series that Dark Horse put out. It started in gonna break my brain, maybe 93. After they released the Zahn trilogy, the Thrawn trilogy, whatever you want to call it, the original 3 Zahn books, they Kevin J. Anderson wrote a series, the Jedi Academy series. This is all off the top of my head. I'm working. It's my brain's working overtime, and so
I see the gears turning.
I know. A lot of the features that were in the Jedi Academy series are what came up in Tales of the Jedi, and the comic series Dark Empire came out right about that same time. The backgrounds of characters, so they kind of Tom Veitch, who wrote the Dark Empire series, kind of sprinkled in a lot of ancient Jedi lore. That's where the Tales of the Jedi came from. And the series as a whole is absolutely fantastic. On my other podcast, Beyond the Film, Star Wars Beyond the Films, we've been slowly kind of going through the entire series. And it was my favorite before that. And I again, going through it, it's like, it's been a few years. Did I actually really like it? And yeah, overall, I still really do like it. Because a lot of it still holds up. A lot of the artwork still holds up. The storyline, like going through the end, it's absolutely fantastic. I love it. I would recommend it to anyone. And it still fits in with the current canon, because it's so far back in time. There's nothing even close to it even the High Republic isn't even close to it in the current canon. So you could put that down and go, yeah, that works.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, all right. What's your next one?
My next one, and this is why I got so excited when you just said that the author of the Padme series wants to come on, is Ahsoka by E.K. Johnston, who wrote the Padme trilogy, and apparently who you spoke to, and we that's exciting for me.
I talked to her at Celebration. She was walking by and I recognized her.
She's great. Like, I love this author. Like, I think she's fantastic. What she did for this character is amazing. There's so much growth in Ahsoka in this book. And what I think is a YA book. Like,
yes.
Yeah. Because she's a YA author. If I'm not to pigeonhole her, she's phenomenal and could write, any age group. And also, there is, I do want to get on a high horse for a second. There is a perception that YA is easier to write. It is not. I've written an adult novel, and I'm currently writing a YA novel. It's like a new adult, so it's like right in between YA and adult. They're so hard to write. Like, just as hard as, a quote-unquote adult novel. They are so challenging because you need to have a wider audience in mind. It is an art to be able to write YA very well, and E.K. Johnston does it. Like, knocks it out of the park. The voice is excellent. The story is excellent. You get a nice little, queer love story, like an almost queer love story. It's very fun. I really like it. It was beautiful. And, everyone is so brilliant. And, all the characters shine on the page. There's a lot of them. I will say that. There's a lot of them. And, Johnson makes them shine. All of them. And it's really something else. And another really quick read. I kind of read this in 2 days. It's brilliant. It's really brilliant. If you care for this character and you haven't read this book, could not recommend it enough. And I can't wait to see what she did with the Padme series, because I think Ahsoka is pretty fleshed out, in the source material. Clearly, there was a lot of screen time for this character, whereas Padme doesn't get as much. She gets some, not as much. So I'm really, really excited to see what Johnston does with her. So, another one of my favorite authors in general. But really for Star Wars, she does such a good job. And, so that's exciting because,
So when she came out with Ahsoka, I really enjoyed Ahsoka.
Yeah.
But her following books, Queen's Shadow, Queen's Peril, and Queen's Hope,
Yes.
each book she gets better.
Yeah, I
You
believe
can
it.
tell her writing style, like in Ahsoka, she's still a little rough.
A little bit.
And she polishes it off after each book. And I think like Queen's Peril and Queen's Hope, she's probably like they're on par with each other, but definitely like Queen's Shadow, you could just tell she like improved so much as an author between those books. And like I kind of enjoyed following her writing style as she went along, because she did get like progressively better. And I liked Ahsoka. I'm not even like downplaying it. Like I liked Ahsoka, and each book got better. And I love the Padme books. I would recommend those in a heartbeat. I liked Ahsoka. Ahsoka has kind of a controversy now because of Dave Filoni.
Correct. I think, and I knew that obviously going into reading the book, and I like both of those stories for different reasons. And it is very obvious that, to me, I don't know how Johnston feels about it or whatever, that Filoni took some inspiration from some of the elements of this story.
So the way I heard it was that Filoni had his ideas. He gave his ideas to Johnston. And so they were both working off the same base ideas. But obviously you get two different storylines based on those, like that core ideas. And you could see it in the Tales of the Jedi. Ironically enough, that's the name of the cartoon series, was Tales of the Jedi, where we get Ahsoka facing down the Sith Inquisitor.
Yeah.
That was part of the Ahsoka book. Like, really, yes, it was important in the book, but it wasn't the whole book.
Correct.
And I know a lot of people got really upset at Dave Filoni's kind of skewing.
Retconning.
Yeah.
And listen, I feel like I saw Johnson say something about it, and she's kind of like, yeah.
And for anybody who can't see that, which is everybody, shrugged.
Yeah, I shrugged.
Shrug emoji.
Yeah, that's kind of, from my memory. Again, like, I'd have to go back on her social media and see what she said, but I vaguely remember her kind of shrugging and being like, it is what it is. Not it's okay, but it is what it is the vibe I got from it at the time. And yeah, I think that if we get too precious about which one is canon, we're really getting in the weeds, because the themes of the story are the same. You know? The general beats are similar. And it seems to me like, to talk about something we talked about with Claudia Gray a little bit, and it's something that I actually like. Claudia Gray's Haunted Mansion book hasn't come out yet, but I'm absolutely dying to read it. But as we said with her, like, there's different stories about the mansion, and they can all be as true as each other, and no one will ever know, and it's fine. And it's fine. They can contradict the heck out of each other, and they do. Like, books that the publisher has put out from different authors say completely different things about the canon. There are some beats that are the same, but the details are, like, completely different. And as Claudia said, that's how the ghosts want it. And they would make sure that that's how that happened. And I kind of love that. And the mystery around that. And I think it's kind of a similar vibe. Like, it gives, this was a story told around a campfire, and the beats stayed the same, but the details changed based on who was telling it. And it just doesn't bother me as much in this case. I don't know. I think they could both be true to the heart of the character, because at the end of the day, whether the details happen that way or this way or whatever, she kind of had the same experience. So she'd be the same person?
Yeah.
Ish,
So-
you know? But anyway,
So this
it's
is
interesting.
I figured Wikipedia would have
Yep.
it like referenced, and it does. So here's what she said on
Yep.
X,
Yeah, it's fine.
not the what formerly was known as Twitter.
Oh, Jesus Christmas.
There isn't a big conspiracy behind the changes in Ahsoka's story. Dave approved the book 6 years ago and then kept working on her journey. It's frustrating to see people gleefully declare my book non-canon instead of just using their imagination like we did.
Yeah. Yeah.
She gets so much flack online, and I don't understand it.
I have a feeling that it's because she's a woman writing Star Wars. That's
But
part of it.
I've also seen it from women online.
Oh, definitely. I think that there's a lot to unpack there. But I think people get really precious about certain things, and specifically the sexuality of certain characters. And I know that there are themes in a lot of her work. You know?
Just wait till you get to the Padme.
That's what I'm referencing.
those
I kind of know some stuff about the handmaidens.
The handmaidens play a very large role in those books, especially Sabe.
Yeah, I cannot wait. I cannot wait because I know that character is so well fleshed out in these books. And I have a feeling that there is a lot of external and internal misogyny and homophobia that is fueling the hate that Johnston gets, because her work is great. And if this is the beginning, right? If this is where we start with Ahsoka and it is solid, yes, there are moments. I find moments in every book that I read that are not ideal, and I still enjoy them, you know, and she's batting pretty high, you know, her craft is great. And some people can't see the forest for the trees. And they get really, 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 really hung up on their own prejudices, and they take it out on the author, and it makes me very angry. Listen, I don't know what every single person who gives her crap has in their heart, but I have a feeling that there's a lot of that.
So, speaking of unduly hatred, my next choice
Oh boy.
is going to be someone an author we've had on the show a couple of times.
Lovely.
The Last Jedi novelization.
Who? Okay.
Now you get my segue. I loved The Last Jedi. It is my favorite Star Wars movie. Not that we're talking about the movies. We're talking about the book. And the book was just as good as the movie for me. And I think it, quote unquote, fixed a lot of the problems that people were having with the movie. Not that I was one of them, but it's by Jason Fry.
I was gonna say.
Like I said, we've had him on the show a few times. He's a great guy. He's a great writer.
He's fantastic.
That book is like top notch. It's probably one of the best movie novelizations that there has been. Along with, like, if anybody who knows Star Wars movie novelizations would say Episode 3 novelization, which is also, I would say, a recommend. Matthew Stover. The problem is that one is non-canon. Or I guess the funny thing is the movie novelizations for the first 6 movies are canon in as long they follow the movie.
Ooh, so any deviations are not canon.
Any of the parts that are not the movie,
right? Additional supplementary material
are non-canon, and they did this back in 2014 when they basically broke Legends off of canon. And it was one of those funniest things. Like, so basically what you're telling me is that the novelizations are canon, basically like a movie script is canon. It's the only.
Yes. That's interesting.
And so while, yes, I love the Episode 3 novelization, I think it's fantastic. I would still recommend The Last Jedi novelization as a read over that. A lot of the other novelizations are difficult, especially the first the 4, 5, and 6.
I can see that.
And even 7 wasn't my favorite novelization.
Interesting. I never read any of the novelizations, but you're selling this for me.
They're like, you can literally like, I want to read Return of the Jedi. You don't need to have read any of the other ones. Like it's they're so based on the movies that you don't need to have, like, you can pick up whatever you want. And so yes, I would, if you were going to read any of the novelizations, 7 and 3, maybe, or not 7, 8. Last Jedi 8 and 3. 9 I feel helps propel me a little more into liking that movie.
Yeah.
But it's not going to, if you hate 9, the novelization is not going to fix that.
Right.
So, what is your last one?
My last one. Star Wars Galaxy's Edge Black Spire by Delilah S. Dawson. I love this book. I love this book because I am a Disney Parks nerd. And I love what this book did to my first experience in Galaxy's Edge. This made me know exactly what Galaxy's Edge was before I stepped foot in it. And when I did, I knew who Oga was. I knew what Oga's deal was. So going to Oga's Cantina was the best. I like got emotional and started talking to the cast members, like the servers in the cantina, like, so how's Oga doing today? And like, I like talk to them because like I know who she is, you know? When I saw Vi, who's on the cover, she's the main character of the book, I knew who the heck she was because there were so many people like, who's that? And I'm like, oh my God. I gotta tell you everything about her, because she's canon. She's the main character of this book, and she's the woman with short blue hair who's in the parks, and people don't know who she is. Everyone sees Rey and Chewie and like knows who they are. This is her, and this is her story, and it's basically about the finding of Black Spire Outpost, and as a resistance base, and it was so fun to read. It has its moments. But the experience of reading this and then a week later going to Galaxy's Edge, you must. You must. This is such good information. This is such a fun story. Phenomenal world building. And made that trip 10 times better. And if you've been to Galaxy's Edge, you know how freaking good it is. This made it better. Maybe, like, I understood. I think Ronto wraps are in this book. And I was so excited to eat one. Like, there's things that are in this book that are details in the land that you're like, oh. And you see it. And very rarely, it's happened a couple times, where you read a book and then you get to go step into it. That's what this is. And, what a moment. What an absolute delight. I like Delilah S. Dawson's writing style, and I'm excited to read Rise of the Red Blade because of this book in particular.
Interesting tidbit. So she was recently on Full of Sith.
Stop!
Yeah, and she dropped a tidbit of knowledge I didn't know, and I thought it was really cool. So Vi Marati, who you said is as the main character of the book.
Yeah.
She did not name Vi Marati.
What is she, what?
I don't remember what the name she had, but apparently Disney Parks contacted her and asked her if she could change the name to Vi. And
is there a reason?
Well, because Vi Marati's in the parks, but she didn't know. It was before Galaxy's Edge even opened. And she's like, why is Disney Parks care about the name of a character in my Star Wars book?
Oh, that's wild. That's interesting. Okay. So that's an Imagineer moment. Got it. Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
And I'm like, that is actually probably, like, if I was Delilah, I'd like, that would be like the coolest thing ever. Like, not only is a character I made in the parks, like Disney Parks kind of got involved in like the making of the naming of the character and stuff. Like,
it's kind of cool.
Marathi, the last name stayed the same. They just changed the first name.
That's interesting. Huh. Those details, that's the synergy that they, I love this book. I think that's very interesting. So I didn't do this on purpose, but I picked 3 books written by women. Didn't do it on purpose. These just happen to be my 3 favorites. The other one...
They're all fantastic authors. It's not like...
They're so good. They just happen to be women as well.
Yeah, it's not like you have to go on a ledge and go, what's a good book written by a woman?
No, I didn't.
Wars?
It just, this is what happened. This is what I had. This is what's up. I do want to give 2 honorary mentions to Fallen Star by Claudia Gray, the last adult novel of Phase 1 of the High Republic. And Dark Disciple. Hang on, I gotta look it up.
Who the author is?
Yeah.
Oh,
I don't have the book with me.
I did know that off the top of my head at one point.
Christy Golden. So the other 2 books, I believe, also women.
Yes, Christy Golden is a woman.
I'm just making sure.
Yep. Yeah. She also was one of the carryovers. There's not a lot of carryovers between Legends continuity and the canon, just because it's also such a long time span. But she is one that wrote in both continuities. So
yeah,
I also have a couple of notable mentions. It's one of those, like, I'm not sure exactly where I want to pin down my third choice, because I'm going to recommend Light of the Jedi as a notable mention, because Light of the Jedi, the first book of the High Republic series, and if you do not want to read the rest of the High Republic after reading Light of the Jedi, then you will not like the High Republic, because Light of the Jedi is a fantastic, it literally pulls you into the story.
Yeah.
And I said, if you do not like it, you probably won't want to read the rest of the High Republic.
I agree.
That's fine.
I agree with you. But as a horror lady, I love the third one. I had a soft spot for the third one. But yes, they are 2 of my favorite. They're in the top 10.
I love the Fallen Star too. I absolutely love the Fallen Star.
Excellent.
Of all the Claudia Gray books, I think Bloodline is probably the one I like the least.
Okay.
And it's not because it wasn't a good book. It just wasn't a book for me.
That's fair.
And not all books are for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to look at... I got another honorable mention of Darth Plagueis, which is a Legends book. I think that one's absolutely fantastic. It gives you so much background on Darth Plagueis and Palpatine and kind of where Maul was going. It's all Legends, though. And so it's one of those, this is great, but it's not what the story is now.
Yes, but I think it's the same thing as, a campfire, tale. You can just enjoy the story in isolation.
If you want just a fantastic story, Darth Plagueis is great. Heir to the Empire, I've recommended high up and down all the time. It's the first first major book written for canon after the movies. I still recommend it. It's not going to be my pick today because I've recommended it before. I'm going to go something completely different, and Death Troopers.
Wow, okay.
Death Troopers is the first and really one of only 2 Star Wars horror novels.
Yeah, that's awesome.
The other one being Red Harvest, which is not really a prequel to Death Troopers, but it's called a prequel to Death Troopers. The author escapes me. Joe Schreiber, who is a horror author.
Yeah.
And it's just one of those books. It's just a fun, pointless Star Wars book that it takes place where I vaguely remember Han and Lando lose the Falcon, and they're stuck on a Star Destroyer with zombie Star Destroyers because of a virus that gets released. And like it literally dumb Star Wars horror fun.
Sounds great.
You don't need to read anything else to understand it. It is a Legends book, but it doesn't matter.
Right.
The only issue with the book is that at the end of the book, Han and Chewie, I'm going to spoil this, but it's not going to really matter.
Okay.
Han and Chewie lose the Falcon.
Oh.
And they never get it back in canon. There's no story where they get it back.
Oops.
And so it's just one of those and Palpatine returned.
Yeah, and somehow Palpatine returned. Mm-hmm. And somehow they got the Falcon back, and it was fine.
And somehow they got the Falcon back.
Mm-hmm. That's funny.
So, but yeah, it's a fun book. Like Legends, there are a lot of people out there who are diehard Legends fans, hate the Disney canon. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of people out there who are diehard Disney canon fans, hate the Legends. Both have their high points. Both have absolutely atrocious books. Mm-hmm. There is a series of books in Legends that almost quit Star Wars altogether.
Oh, no.
They were that bad.
Oh, boy.
When I was working on my master's, I lived in Texas, and I got an inheritance. And so with my inheritance money, part of my inheritance money, I wanted to start collecting all the Star Wars stories. And so this is where it started. I wanted to read every Star Wars story and start collecting all the Star Wars stories. And so online timelines were kind of in their infancy, and I found a couple, kind of pieced them together. And I found this one series, which doesn't really have a series name, but it's generally known as the Glove of Darth Vader series. And it is... like a chapter book would be, I believe, what they call them now, like a kid's chapter book. Mm-hmm. It is so bad that it made every other Star Wars story out there also bad in my head.
Oh, no.
And I'm like, if this is what they put out as a Star Wars story, do I want to keep reading any of these books?
That's why. I have heard of that. I've heard of that. That exact phenomena.
It is 6 books long, I think. I think 6. And I hate them from the depths of my soul.
Oh, buddy. Oh, buddy. What was the book that I got 50 pages into and then quit? Shadow of the Empire?
Yeah, Shadow of the Empire.
Absolutely not. When I tell you absolutely not, I tell you absolutely not. Like, that's...
Shadows of the Empire is a book that has not aged well.
That was so deeply unsettling to me. I was like, this is like 900 pages, man. I think it was 500.
It's definitely not 900, but it's enough. It's enough pages.
Absolutely not. Absolutely. And listen, I go through books quick, okay? I'm reading a series right now, not related to Star Wars at all. And it's a series of 5 books. Only one of them is like short. 4 of them, though, are like 700 plus pages. And I'm just like going through them. I'm like, and what?
And that's still not as long as my book.
Yeah. Yeah, they're just very good. Yeah, I'm reading A Court of Thorns and Roses, and it is something. It's something. That series is... It's very good. It's very good. It's very good if you like fantasy romance. It's very good. I got very hyped up for me online, and I was like, surely it can't be this good. It is. It's that good.
Good.
So yeah, I'm on the 3rd book of that series, so that's my life right now. And I'm reading them from the library, so I've only got 2 weeks to like finish each one. Yeah. And it's like 700 pages, and I'm like, okay, here we go. But every time I read the last like 250 pages in one shot, in each book. That's been what's happening. So anyway, That's always delightful. That's an entire Star Wars novel sometimes. Just one shot. Let's go. Also read Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. Same pretty much genre. That was 500-ish pages, and I read it in a day. I had a day off. I took a bunch of days for like mental health reasons. And one day I just read the whole day and I read that book. That's what I did. So, those are some random other recommendations if you're looking for a fantasy romance, which we don't get a lot of in Star Wars. But since Star Wars and fantasy kind of, they share a lot of elements. Like, you might like it. Who knows? I sure do.
Yeah, my book, In Search of Lost Time, is a romance part of it, but not fantasy.
Yeah.
And I don't read as fast as you. And I'm about, like, I've been reading it for 2 months, a month and a half, and I'm about 300 pages in.
Yeah, I mean, that's a normal-ish pace.
Yeah,
I'm insane.
I try to read at least 10 pages a night, and it takes me a half hour to read 10 pages. Because these are also dense pages.
I was going to say, if they're dense pages, like we're talking about a different thing. You know what I mean? ACOTAR, Court of Thorns and Roses, is pretty dense, but like it's not crazy. It is technically listed under YA in a lot of, it's definitely new adult. But yeah, so the print's a little bigger. Not a lot, but not like, I'm going to use a visual just for Jim. We're not dealing with this. Mm-hmm. We're not dealing with that. Not like big, like double spaced pages with like size 15 font. Like that's not happening here. We're talking single space pages for sure. Let's see what you got. Yeah, not quite. Same font size, but not quite.
That's
more line breaks and dialogue for sure.
Yeah, like I'm starting to actually enjoy the book.
Good.
Which is good because it's a long book. It's funny, like I try to figure out, I use audiobooks as a estimate on length.
Yep, definitely.
Because they're, regardless of font size or anything, your narrators are generally going to be talking at the same speed.
Yes, right. So I could tell you the length of the books in the series. Hang on. Just for giggles. So in the series,
I spent most of my...
You've got Court of Thorns and Roses. The first one is 18 hours.
Okay.
And then you have... Don't play it. Are you kidding? Hang on. Hang on a second. My library. That'll do it. Okay. Yeah, the first one... No, 18 hours. And then Court of Mist and Fury, 23:17. 23 hours, 17 minutes. The one I'm reading right now, Court of Wings and Ruin, is 25 hours and 12 minutes. The Court of Frost and Starlight is the next one. That's 6 hours and 24 minutes. She's short. And then you've got Court of Silver Flames, the last one, 26 hours and 7 minutes.
Yeah.
So that's that series. And then I'll look up Fourth Wing real quick. Go ahead.
So In Search of Lost Time is broken up into different parts.
Yeah.
And like, I love the Everyman Library. If anybody who knows books, the Everyman Library releases hardcover felt books, and so these are I literally throw out the dust jackets on all of them. So my bookshelf is full of these because they all match. Yeah, and I'm OCD in a way.
That is a nice aesthetic. To have matching books. When books in a series don't match, drives me nuts. I'm like, who did this? Who did this?
I'll come back to that in a second. But the books, so they try to condense the books not by editing, but by shrinking and cramming into the novels. I was looking up the first volume of this book. I think was the audiobook you can't buy the audiobook for the entire In Search of Lost Time. You can only buy it in
chunks.
These parts because they don't, the thing is so long. The first book is 22 hours.
Yep.
And that's just literally the first book. And I'm not, I'm about 2/3 of the way through that first book.
Right. Just for context, Fourth Wing is 21 hours, which is as long as Return of the King. So I just looked it up. Return of the King, 21 hours. Two Towers is 20 hours. And Fellowship of the Ring is 22. So each of the Lord of the Rings books, right? To go back, Fourth Wing is one of them. And then the ACOTAR books are each like a Lord of the Rings book long. And the one I'm reading right now is longer than any of them.
I always use War and Peace.
Yeah, that's a good one. Let me see how long War and Peace is.
I believe it's like 40 hours because I had looked it up. That one took me probably about 5 or 6 months.
Unabridged? We want the unabridged one?
Yeah. About 42 off the top of my head.
59.
59, okay.
And then they broke out the epilogues.
Because
oh, there you go.
Yeah, so
unabridged is 59 hours.
Yeah, War and Peace was one of those. I finished it, and I went, I finished this. Is it a great book? No. But
that's how I feel about it. I was like, absolutely not. Yeah, so basically, if you're ever wondering, the ACOTAR series is twice as long, basically. If you add it up, it's about 1.75, 1 3/4 of War and Peace. So you could read War and Peace almost twice in the time it takes for you to read this series. So if anyone ever says anything about fantasy romance again, I'm going to fight them. Like that is, it's, yes, it's about fairies. Leave me alone.
I see a lot of, we are so far off topic, but I don't care.
But that's okay. Books.
Yeah. A lot of times I'll see word counts.
Oh, yeah. We have to sell books based on word counts. So that's why you see a lot of that.
So that's like 400,000 word.
That's a lot.
What's it? Okay, 100,000. Is that a typical?
So, your typical adult novel is minimum 80,000. Like my first book that I wrote is 83,000 words, and it's about 350 pages. So it's a little on the shorter side, but it's YA is shorter. But yeah, your typical adult fiction piece, depending on genre. It very much depends on genre as well. So the genre I was writing was around 80. That's like thriller is like around 80. Fantasy, let me look it up for you. If we're talking about fantasy and sci-fi, right? Fantasy and sci-fi, word count. Fantasy word count. Fantasy is usually 90,000 to 120,000.
Okay.
Yeah. There's a graphic here. I'm going to try to find it. Bear with me. There was an infographic here. Hang on.
So,
according to this... Nope, that's just different books. Okay, here we go. Average word count. Literary novels, it's 86. Sci-fi is 92. Fantasy is 94, 95-ish. YAs are usually around 80. Romance is usually like 78. Thriller, 83, which is exactly where mine was. Crime and mystery is like 80. So yeah, that's ish. That's approximation. So like, depends on the genre, but usually you're under 100,000 words. Usually.
Okay. War and Peace?
Yeah.
587,000.
Yeah, that makes sense. So it's basically 6 times your average.
Yeah. My book, 1.2 million.
No. That is so many books. That is so much time. That is... I say that having just watched... I'm on 100... I'm pointing to it because I'm about to go finish this episode. Episode 131 of a Critical Role campaign, and they're like 3 to 4 hours each. So you could do that math. So that's how much time I've invested in that. So I mean, I'm not here to yuck anybody's yum, but damn.
It's on
You
the
could watch
list.
One Piece. You could watch One Piece. The, like, longest, probably not the longest anime, but is a notoriously long anime. And manga.
It's on
That
my
David's
list.
reading and watching.
I gotta.
He loves it.
I gotta read it. It's on my list.
Yeah, he loves it. He has every book. So you ever want to talk to him about that?
No, I'm talking about this book. My book.
Freaking loves it. This one as well. It's insane. I thought you were talking about One Piece. I was like, hey, there you go. That's insane. It's bananas. Again, I've watched, what's 100, like the average is 3-ish hours. What's 131? Oh no. 131 times 3? Almost 400 hours of D&D. So, I mean, I can't talk.
That's probably longer than it would take me to read this book.
Yeah, it's almost 400 hours of Dungeons and Dragons.
That's
I've
a lot of
watched more
Dungeons
Dungeons
and
and Dragons than most people have played Dungeons and Dragons.
You've certainly
You know?
you've certainly watched more than I've ever thought of Dungeons and
Yeah,
Dragons. And
I love it, man. I love such a dork. I'm going to New York Comic Con. Pretty much the only thing on my list the day I'm going, because I'm only going one day, is to see these people. And I paid to meet the Dungeon Master, the Game Master, the DM/GM. I'm so excited. I'm gonna cry. And David is meeting Ewan McGregor. And I don't know which one of us is more excited. Like, I was so amped. So that's a fun thing you didn't know about me, guys.
oh, we knew. You've talked about it before.
Oh, have I? Sorry. My bad.
We make fun of you in our heads, but it'd be
Yeah,
inappropriate to say it
it's
out
fine.
loud.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay.
But I think that's enough.
Yeah.
Enough book talk.
Yeah, I clearly love, this is what I do, so.
I collect books. I love books. I read. I collect. I love
books.
I'm a
You see
bibliophile.
this is my to be read pile currently, right? Obviously, no one can see this, so you can cut this out. This is also my to be read pile. Like,
this is my to be read pile right here.
Yeah. It's absurd. Because there's books behind that as well. So,
So, all right.
anyway.
If you want to get a hold of us, you can reach us through email, talkintauntauns@aiptcomics.com. You can find us on X
Question mark.
at Talkin Tauntauns. My favorite part is, what is the website for X?
Is it x.com?
No, it's twitter.com.
Yeah, I thought so.
So, yeah. Whatever is going on with that, we're still there. I have not joined
the
any
time
of the
being.
other social medias because of the Hive thing.
Situation? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Are
hesitant.
we still doing threads? Are people still talking about threads? Or is that dead as well?
One of our upcoming guests has not had a good time in Threads.
Okay.
So she
Fair enough.
she told me even to message her outside of Twitter, because that's how I normally talk to her. She's like, send me an email because I don't know what's going on in here.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a shame.
So
But yes.
yes, you can find us there at Talkin Tauntauns. You can join our Patreon through AIPT Comics and join us on Discord. You can leave us a 5-star review in all of your favorite and non-favorite podcasting platforms.
Please, thank you.
Please and thank you. And we will see you again next week.